In this video, buying property in Mexico's restricted zone using the fideicomiso system and exploring other options. If you are picturing a beachfront condo in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta or within 100 kilometers of the border, you might be asking, can foreigners really own property there? What's a fideicomiso? Are there other ways to invest? So we're going to go deep into the answers, unpack the process, benefits, and some lesser known tips you won't find in most Mexico real estate guides. From legal hacks to cultural insights, this video is your roadmap to owning property in Mexico's coastal areas. So what is Mexico's restricted zone and why the fideicomiso? So let's kick things off with the basics. The restricted zone in Mexico is defined by Article 27 of the Mexican Constitution as all land within 50 kilometers of the coastline and 100 kilometers of any international border. This includes a lot of prime spots like Los Cabos, Riviera Maya, Tijuana, some of the most sought-after real estate in the world. In 2024, over 500,000 foreigners owned property in these zones, per Mexico News Daily, drawn by stunning beaches and affordable prices. But here's the catch. The Mexican Constitution bans foreigners from directly owning property in this zone to protect national sovereignty, a rule rooted in Mexico's history of territorial conflicts. So how do foreigners buy? Enter the fideicomiso, a bank trust system introduced in 1973 to allow non-Mexicans to acquire property legally. Here's how it works. A Mexican bank holds the title as the trustee, the fiduciary, while you, the foreign buyer, are the beneficiary, the fideicomisario, enjoying full ownership rights, living, renting, selling, or passing it to heirs. The trust lasts 50 years and is renewable indefinitely. Common questions include, is it really secure? How much does it cost? Are there alternatives? We'll cover all that, starting with the benefits of the fideicomiso. So, why choose a fideicomiso? It's the safest, most common way for foreigners to own property in Mexico's restricted zone, offering a ton of benefits. First, full ownership rights. As the beneficiary, you can live in, rent out, remodel, sell, or bequeath your property just like a Mexican citizen. The bank can't act without your consent, ensuring your control. Second, legal security. The fideicomiso is government sanctioned, backed by over 50 years of precedent, and recorded by a notario público, a highly trained legal professional. It protects against legal disputes, common in less regulated markets. Third, inheritance ease. You can designate heirs in the trust, bypassing probate, so your kids or spouse inherit seamlessly. Here's a lesser-known perk, marketability. A fideicomiso makes your property attractive to both foreign and Mexican buyers, as it's transferable via an assignment of rights, reducing closing costs for the next owner. This boosts liquidity in hot markets like Playa del Carmen. Now let's tackle the cost, the process. How do you get a fideicomiso? The process is straightforward, but requires precision. Here's a step-by-step. So number one, choose a bank. Select an authorized bank like Banorte, HSBC, or Scotiabank to act as trustee. Banorte is popular in Quintana Roo. Apply for SRE permit. Obtain a permit from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to allow foreign ownership. Submit your documents, provide your passport, visa, property details, proof of no liens, all apostilled and translated. Sign the trust agreement. The bank drafts a 32 to 40 page contract outlining your rights, signed before a notario. Then you'll pay the fees. There are both setup fees and annual maintenance fees, and these vary by bank. You might be looking at $1,000 to $2,500 for the setup, and $500 to $1,000 annual maintenance fees. Then you close the deal. The notario finalizes the transfer with closing costs at 6 to 8% of the purchase price. And that includes acquisition tax, notario fees. And here's a hidden tip. Try to negotiate the bank fees. So some banks, like Banco del Bajío, offer lower annual fees for long-term trusts. So see what you can do there. Processing time could take 2 to 3 months, so start early to avoid delays. Now you might be asking, is fideicomiso the only way? Are there any alternatives? So let's explore some alternatives for buying in the restricted zone. The main option is a Mexican corporation. There's different types of Mexican corporations, but probably the most common are the Sociedad Anónima or the Sociedad de Responsabilidad Limitada, which foreigners can fully own since 1995. So here's how it works. You do the setup, you form a corporation with at least 2 shareholders. It'll cost, around $1,000, maybe more, and it can be pretty fast to set up. So it could be completed in as quickly as 2 weeks. Regarding the ownership, the corporation, a Mexican legal entity, will directly own the title to the property, bypassing the fideicomiso. The benefit is it can be ideal for commercial properties like Airbnbs and hotels, or multiple properties, as one corporation can own several, unlike a fideicomiso, which is limited to one. In many cases, there's no annual trust fees, and you'll have faster transactions as well, because it's faster to open a Mexican corporation than it is to open a fideicomiso. The drawback is, with a corporation, it requires monthly tax filings, as well as a tax ID and a certified accountant. So budget for the expense of an accountant. Here's a lesser-known option. There's something called a management trust, a fideicomiso de administración, used by some foreigners for non-restricted zone properties, but less common in restricted zones. For residential buyers, fideicomiso is safe. Let's talk challenges and regional variations in the restricted zone. So one is processing delays. Fideicomiso setup can take 2 to 4 months, especially if SRE permits are delayed. Then you have the costs again. The setup and the annual fees do add up, with higher costs in tourist hubs like Los Cabos. Closing costs, which run 6 to 8%, are steeper than in the US as well. In the US, it might be 2 to 5% closing costs. So you'll find that closing costs are actually a little bit higher in Mexico. And be aware of scams, fraudulent notarios as well, unclear titles, which also happens in ejido land, and that can lead to disputes. By the way, we have another video all about ejido land if you want to learn more about that. So subscribe to the channel. Another one is bank stability. So if a bank fails, the trust transfers to another bank, but paperwork delays can occur. So something to think about as well. Some other regional variations. In Quintana Roo, there are streamlined processes in Tulum and Playa del Carmen, with banks like Banorte offering digital fideicomiso applications. Another one I've heard in Jalisco is there are higher notary fees in places like Puerto Vallarta, reflecting premium markets. Another cultural nuances here is that notarios in Mexico are trusted community figures, but their fees vary, so shop around. And they can get competitive. You can get quotes from multiple notarios and go with whoever you feel gives you the most trust, but also maybe the best price on the transaction costs. Some more practical tips for buying in the restricted zone. Number one, again, hire a reputable notario. Choose a state-appointed notario público to verify titles and oversee transfers. Budget 2 to 4% of the purchase price for notario fees alone. Then engage a real estate lawyer. There are firms that can help ensure clean titles and SRE permits. Also conduct due diligence. Verify no liens or ejido disputes via the Registro Público de la Propiedad. You can use title assurance as well. And there are some US firms, I've heard maybe First American does title insurance for Mexican real estate. You'll want to choose the right bank as well. Talk to people, get recommendations. We definitely have some recommendations depending on where in the country you're looking to invest. You can compare fideicomiso fees as well. Another one is ensure you have good digital banking for payments. Plan for taxes as well. Budget for the predial, which is the property tax, the annual property tax. We have another dedicated video about predial, the predial system, if you want to learn more. Also budget for capital gains tax in the future as well. And keep all your receipts. Another big tip, keep all your receipts because these can be deducted against your taxes in Mexico. If you're investing in your property, you're buying a new fridge and whatever, and you also maybe rent out your property, you can deduct those expenses against your rental income. Here's a lesser known strategy. Assume existing trust. So if you're buying from a foreigner, an assignment of rights transfers the seller's fideicomiso, which would save the setup costs of the fideicomiso because it already exists, and setup costs could easily be $1,000. So there's a little money saving tip. And there you have it, property pioneers. Buying property in Mexico's restricted zone through a fideicomiso is your gateway to owning paradise in places like Los Cabos, Tulum, or Tijuana. With full ownership rights, legal security, and a path to inheritance, it's a proven system backed by over 50 years. Add alternatives like Mexican corporations for investors, and you've got options to match your dreams. From navigating notarios and SRE permits to dodging scams and leveraging expat networks, you're now armed to make your Mexican property vision a reality. I hope this video answered your questions and sparked excitement for your beachfront or border home. If you have more questions, you can book a call with us, MyLatinLife. There's a link in the description where you can become our client. We can set up your Mexican corporation if we need to. We can set up your fideicomiso. We can make the best recommendation for you. So link in the description. Let's book a call and let's build a custom game plan for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more expat, Mexico, and global living insights. See you in the next video.